TRST or Trust is a Darkwave project from Canada. There's a few albums under this project's name by now. I have heard the last one that came out. It didn't really leave much of an impression on me, honestly, but this new one has definitely left an impression on me. This is a much better album in my opinion. This is basically a straight up synth pop album, which is very similar to what you would expect from like 80s synth pop groups, while also having this kind of like spacey futuristic undertone to a lot of the music on this album too, which I really dig. And overall I think the sound that they use doesn't really get boring, because although most of the songs are essentially doing the same thing, I do feel as though it manages to keep me interested for the runtime, because it's only 30 minutes, so it doesn't really ever overstay its welcome or anything. I would say my only issue really is that a few of the tracks on here just have these really ugly sounding clashes of like the synth sounds and stuff at times. It ends up getting a bit overbearing for my ears, to be honest. On Unbleached and Bicep specifically, these two tracks, I just feel as though it doesn't really sound very organized. It sounds quite cluttered, to be honest. But in fact I do end up loving the vocals on Unbleached though, because they're just so manic and waily and just absolutely insane. So I suppose like that matches the intensity of the instrumental, but I just feel as though the instrumental could have probably been touched up a little bit to sound a little bit smoother, something just to kind of give it a bit more of a finesse. It just sounds rather jumbly to me, and I don't think there are any issues like that across the album, just aside from those couple of tracks. But I suppose if you're more into like the darkness of the Darkwave sound, then these two tracks might actually end up being your favourite. I do absolutely love the track Gone. I think the chorus on this one is really well sung and it ends up being incredibly catchy. Sounds like it's taken straight out of the New Order playbook, honestly, but in all the best ways possible. It's not like a straight up homage, but you could honestly pinpoint it to other groups from the 80s as well, not just New Order of course. There's that post-punk element to a lot of these tracks as well that's very reminiscent of bands like Bauhaus and other gothic rock bands from the 80s. I like the track Control Me as well. I think there's so much power behind the music on this track, even though like the vocalist kind of sings in the same delivery and the same tone throughout. I do feel like there's a pain to his voice that just matches the music really, really well. The instrumental on the chorus is glistening, and it manages to just soar so elegantly, and it just sounds really well crafted. Like this is a kind of instrumental that I prefer to like the more intense and busy ones that came on earlier in the album. So yeah, there's not really much else to say. It's a pretty short review, I guess, because most of the tracks do a very similar thing to what I've already said, and the highlights are very high as well. It's a really good album overall. I think there's a part 2 coming out later in the year at some point, so it'll be interesting to see if like the two pieces come together and create one huge album or something like that, or if they just stand alone for what they are. I don't really know. We'll have to see, but I think even still this album is really good on its own. I'm gonna go 7 out of 10. Let me know if you have checked this out. I think it's a very good synth pop album, so if you are heavy into synth pop, definitely check this out. Thank you for watching my review. Have a good day. Let me know your thoughts on this album. Goodbye.